Greetings, Earthlings. Today we're going to go over more free writing tips. In the previous video, we went over common issues, both of good symptoms of good free writes and bad free writes, and I wanted to mention a few more tips. Now, there's really an endless amount of these tips, but these are some common issues that I sort of neglected to mention, and I really wanted to mention in particular. All right, 2 is going to be probably like the biggest one of this one, but all of them are sort of interesting. So, number 1 is about tension. I already mentioned this in the previous video about holding a pen tightly. So if your body is tight, chances are your mind is tight. If you're holding a pen like this and your hand is cramping, first of all, but that's probably telling me you're not very relaxed mentally as well. So let's do this exercise. So close your eyes and think to when you took an exam. And I want you to sit with your posture as though you're taking an exam. So chances are you're probably like this, because you're nervous, you're anxious. But imagine an artist doing a painting. I don't think I've ever seen an artist do a painting like that. Or if you're writing a short story, chances are you're not sitting like this unless you're frantically trying to get down some idea so you don't forget it. Also, you could think about weightlifting. If you're doing an easy exercise, then like if I said lift a finger, you're gonna be fine. But if I said do a push-up on one finger, you're probably going to start making weird facial expressions because your body's going to be tight. So the same thing goes with the mind. So just it's a two-way street. So pay attention when you're doing the free write. If you're having trouble, ask yourself, are you physically relaxed? Are you breathing? Is your posture comfortable? So this is a pretty general, this applies to almost anything, not just writing. All right. Number 2 is going to be flow. This is kind of an advanced issue. So in the beginning, a lot of people that have trouble with free writes, they're kind of scared to jump all over the place because they're judging what they're writing. So once you get the hang of a free write, you'll see, oh, it's okay, I have random thoughts, so I'm going to jump around topics. That's totally fine. And so one issue that people have is they go a little bit too overboard and start to obsess with the nouns and the concepts. So for example, if you close your eyes and think about like call out whatever comes to your mind. So it might be elephant, chair, car. So it might be chicken, green, car, sun. You start obsessing over these nouns, and a free write is not just the noun. So if you want to think in math terms, these are points. So just like a river flows, it's not just about jumping from point to point, but it's how you're getting there. So the language you're using to get from one point to the other point can be as interesting. So you might say, a chicken is something I had for breakfast. Hopefully it wasn't green, because if it were green, I would have to go to the hospital. And on the way to the hospital, maybe I would get hit by a car, but that's not really fun because then I'd be lighting up and burning up in the emergency room where the lights would feel like the hot sun. So I'm just trying to connect these random concepts. But some of the interesting stuff, again, is happening not just here, but in these connections. So remember, free writing, it's totally fine to jump around, but there should be some flow, and that's your language use and the transitions between these concepts. So don't think it's just about these little points of like, what's the new topic I'm jumping to? All right, so that's kind of a really important point. All right, so now number 3 is balance. So just like in anything, balance is important. So if you can overdo 2 as well. So if you start flowing and you think, oh, it's really important to always flow, well then let's say you're doing a free write and suddenly you hear an ambulance siren. The natural thing to do might be to incorporate that into your writing. And that might be a very hard transition. So a very sudden, not hard as in difficult, but a very sudden transition. So in that case, it may not be very smooth. So the example with water would be turbulence. Or like generally, even if there's a turn, it's sort of smooth and continuous, but occasionally you have some jaggedy stuff. So don't try to flow too much. You should have a general flow, but occasionally it's fine to have a few like super sudden transitions. Just make sure there's a balance. Don't have it be all jaggedy, and don't have it be smooth just for the sake of being smooth. So that's what I mean about balance. Finally, personality. So we discussed a little bit, well actually it'll be in the next video, about how the free write can show you a lot of things about a person and their skills. So for example, in having students just write whatever comes to mind, there's sort of a Jedi mind trick where you're tricking them into not paying attention to their grammar so much. And so they may not try to hide their normal issues from you as much. And because of that, you may notice more of their usual grammar errors, which may be helpful for teachers. So like if a student knows they're being graded or checked for their grammar, they might avoid things they're not sure about. So that's like a very obvious skill thing. But free writes can also have
Commander Chief has used Russian active measures at time.
So free writes can also have personality. So just like somebody can be a funny person or a serious person, or maybe they're a funny person but that day they're feeling serious. So for example, a lot of my free writes tend to be pretty comedic because I just like to make jokes. But I've had a student, maybe you're into like dark gothic stuff and who knows. So just like in art therapy, you could tell a lot about what a person draws. You could tell a lot about the issues that are going on in their heads or their past traumas. Same thing with a free write. So some person's free write might have all the characteristics of a great free write, but it might focus on like death and loss and other issues, whereas another person's might be comedic, or it could be a mix. So you could sort of see a lot about a person's personality, and it's interesting just to see how people's free writes have their own personalities in them. All right, so I'll leave it at that. This is just more of an interesting point. You might want to look at yours and what you tend to talk about says about your thoughts and about you. All right.